What's going on, everybody? It is a cold and rainy day here in the state of Texas, which only means one thing, one perfect reason, and that we kick off week number 2 of the 2024 Indoor Football League regular season. Week 1 kicked off with two epic games, and before we get to this week's action, let's look back at week number 1 as it got started with the battle in the desert in Arizona between the Arizona Rattlers and the Northern Arizona Wranglers. These two teams last season had an epic feud that even spilled out into the crowd, which included multiple suspensions from both teams. Now they're running it back for week number 1. And even though there's no drama in the crowd, there's definitely drama in the field. Especially we saw two kickoff returns, a safety, a deuce roll, which is a kick through the through the uprights, and multiple touchdowns. 7 touchdowns for the Rattlers, and then you had 5 touchdowns for the Northern Arizona Wranglers. Both teams had a really good game, and ultimately, it was the Arizona Rattlers, who are pretty good at football, and they have been for a long time. They won this game 51-40. Just some of the stat lines for the Rattlers: 51 points were scored in that game, 7 touchdowns, 7 extra points, 3 touchdowns were on rushing touchdowns, and 4 were on passing touchdowns. Unfortunately, though, Arizona did have 2 turnovers, but there was a safety involved with one of them. So yeah, that's Arizona in a nutshell. A total of 44 plays were done by Arizona. 2 for 6, 1 for 3 on fourth down. They had the ball 32 minutes. It was a pretty good game. Passing yards were about 142. Rushing yards were 88 yards for a total of 225 yards. Dalton Snead, their quarterback, had 114 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Really good with the ball as well. Northern Arizona, they had 5 touchdowns. 2 of them were rushing, 1 of them were passing, and in those 2 kickoff returns, 4 extra points were made, and 2 field goals were also made. Not that impressive running the ball, only 83 yards. They were really good in the passing game with 173, with 39 plays, 16 first downs, 2 for 6 on third downs, 1 for 3 on fourth downs. They had the ball less with 26 minutes and 52 seconds. Not too bad. Arizona, the Rattlers, they're getting ready to play in another game in week number 2, which we'll get to that one. And then to end things for last week, you had the Massachusetts Pirates taking on the Green Bay Blizzard. And let me tell you, Green Bay, they had the win. They ultimately did. They had a lead at halftime. Unfortunately, though, they squandered that opportunity and they didn't get the win. I was hoping they would, but at last it was not. Massachusetts Pirates defeated Green Bay Blizzard 44-40 in that one. It wasn't as high a scoring game as the Arizona Rattlers and Northern Arizona Wranglers game, but it was still an impressive game to me. As we look at the game itself, both teams had 18 first downs. Very good game by Massachusetts on the ground with 106 yards to Green Bay's 38. Passing yards, that was Green Bay's bread and butter, was the passing situation. 142 yards to Massachusetts, 111, but on ultimately in total 217 overall yards was by the Pirates, whereas 180 was with Green Bay. I mean, ultimately, Green Bay had this win. Massachusetts had the ball 31 minutes to Green Bay's 28 minutes. Third down, 2 for 7 for Massachusetts, 4 for 7 for Green Bay, 2 for 5 on fourth down, Massachusetts, and Green Bay didn't have anything on fourth down. That's basically, the game in a nutshell for the Green Bay Blizzard and the Massachusetts Pirates. As we move on now to the week 2 action in the IFL, in both Green Bay and Northern Arizona need a win badly. Here's what's going on in week number 2. Get that bad boy up there full screen if possible. There you go. I'll make it a little bit bigger. This week, 3 days will take control of the Indoor Football League, and it all kicks off tonight, Friday, March 22nd, 2024. 7:05 is going to be the kick. Starting this first matchup, the Sioux Falls Storm, helmet on your right side, or left side, I mean, taking on the Green Bay, or the Quad City Steamwheelers. Both of these teams are kicking off their 2024 campaign. Both of these teams are looking for some kind of victory to start 2024 and ultimately get back to a winning, mark in the playoffs. Sioux Falls Storm, they don't have their quarterback from last year. Head coach left to go coach in college, I believe, leaving the indoor football market. Last year, Sioux Falls Storm, they finished second in the Eastern Conference with a record of 9-6, making the playoffs. Quad City Steamwheelers also made the playoffs. They barely missed out on the playoffs. 9-6 record for them, taking the final spot in the playoffs. These two teams are squaring off tonight to take control of hopefully their season. Next up, my team, who I'm hoping to be with this season, not this week, but next week and throughout the year to come, because this is a playoff team, no doubt. Frisco Fighters are at home against the Tulsa Oilers. Welcome to the Red River Rumble, as these two teams are calling it for this matchup. It is going to be tonight at 7:30 Central. All of these games are on YouTube under the IFL YouTube page. Last year and for pretty much their existence, the Frisco Fighters made the playoffs. They were tops of the conference in the Eastern Conference, 13-2 record, barely missing out of the national championship game. But it is a new year. Hopefully we can get there. They can get there. Tulsa Oilers, they are a new team still. They didn't do too well, 2-13 last year. And then heading to the second year, who knows what will happen there. I think it's going to be a better season for them, and we'll just have to see how it plays out this year when it comes to the Tulsa Oilers. Next up, you have two Sunday games or Saturday games. It looks like for the next slate of matchups in the IFL, starting with an iconic franchise in so many ways. You can go back to Kurt Warner when he was playing for the Iowa Barnstormers. Yes, folks, those Iowa Barnstormers. They are taking on the Green Bay Blizzard, who unfortunately lost last week in their debut or their matchup in the 2024 IFL season when they took on the Massachusetts Pirates. That will be our next matchup coming up for Massachusetts. But for Green Bay, they definitely need a win. They are in the bottom of their conference. They need this win. Iowa needs this win too, but because Green Bay started off the season with an 0-1 record now, Green Bay needs this win. Next up, that game starts at 6:05 Central Time Saturday. Should be a fun matchup. Also at 6:05 Saturday, you have the Jacksonville Sharks coming over from the National Arena League. They also started in the Arena Football League, Sharks did, back in 2010, and they've been in the NAL for several years. Now they made the jump, taking on a familiar foe in the Massachusetts Pirates. For a while, they have been in the IFL for a couple seasons now, but they're also part of the National Arena League, just like the Sharks. These two teams have squared off in the past, and now they meet once again. Massachusetts seems like they had Jacksonville's number, but these two teams are facing off in the IFL for the first time ever, and I believe that Massachusetts, with their success that they've had in the IFL so far, they can probably take down the Sharks. Remember, those two games are 6:05 Central Time on YouTube. All these games are on YouTube. Now we move to Sunday. Only one game on Sunday, but it should be a fun game. 5 o'clock Central Time, 5:05 to be exact. The Vegas Nighthawks, who are also hosts to the IFL National Championship game, they are taking on the Bay Area Panthers, who incredibly last season, or the past 2 seasons, but the Bay Area Panthers will get their hardware, their rings, the banner, as they are national champions last season for the 2023 season after having a tumultuous 2022 season, having the worst record in the IFL. Last season, they had the best record in the IFL, it capping off with a national championship. Hopefully that continues for Bay Area. Vegas would like to play in their home arena in the national championship game. It's going to be a difficult road for both of these two teams, but for either one, at least for right now, I feel like they can pull it off. And finally, in prime time on Monday, March 25th at 7:05 Central Time, you got the Duke City Gladiators hosting the San Diego Strike Force. For the Duke City Gladiators, they were once part of the Champions Indoor Football League, the CIF. They seemed like they're a good league, but Duke City wanted out, and they did. They joined the IFL a couple seasons back. They haven't had a bad season either, or a bad couple years in the IFL, but they didn't make the playoffs last year either. San Diego didn't as well. San Diego finished a 6-9 regular season record. Duke City 5-10 regular season record. We talked about the Vegas Nighthawks. They didn't make the playoffs either, 5-10 record. Green Bay Blizzard didn't make the playoffs, 7-8 record. And Iowa Barnstormers, they didn't make the playoffs either, 3-12 record. It's going to be crazy to see how these teams rebound in 2024. That's pretty much my take on what's going on in the Indoor Football League for week number 2. Thank you guys for watching, tuning in to this IFL preview show for week number 2 on the Die Hard Football Podcast. If you like anything I do of football, have any suggestions, any recommendations on a topic I should do, please tell me in the comments below. Want to know who you think will win the national championship game? Whoever makes it to the matchup. Who's your pick to win it all? Basically what I'm trying to say. Join me next week as we take a look at week number 2, the highlights, the lowlights, and then talk about week number 3. With that, have a great week, everybody.